Here.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Kelly. Five here, one absent.
Okay, everybody please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we have anyone signed up to speak this evening?
Steve Berglund is on our list to speak.
No, I'm not speaking.
You just signed up.
I'll walk if you want me to.
You're welcome to. You're welcome to. Do you want to sing or something? We heard you're a good singer. Okay, before you have the meeting minutes for April 21st, 2022. Please review them at this time. Is there any changes and or corrections? My favorite are the spelling errors. Linda?
I just have a question about the very bottom of the first page, page 3. It lists the project costs up to 47,943, but all the other indications or all the other figures are 55,563.
Yes, it's on the second page for when trustee Robinson moved. Did the motion, it's got 55,563.
Okay, then does that get changed then, the 47,943 on the first page?
It was on,
I'm sorry, if I could just explain, if you take a look at today's agenda, we made a staff error last week, so we were asking you to clean that up under item I tonight.
That was just
So the numbers were wrong.
57.
It's supposed to be 57,943.
Correct. Well, that's,
Okay,
we'll give you
okay.
that choice.
It's, as long as the minutes are
No, that
correct,
was approved.
that's the
It
only
was
thing.
approved, but you can either leave it that way or you can reconsider it tonight. That'll be explained on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll have to, because that was voted on. so.
But the meeting minutes as they're presented have the correct figures for
The way they were.
the way they were presented,
That's all.
correct?
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other concerns with the minutes? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Questions, comments?
seconded. Wait a second.
Come on, she's second this one. I knew it was coming, sorry.
You get that now, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Keep it down.
Okay, questions or comments? Can I have a roll call, vote, please?
Ms. Fodor. Aye. Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Motion passes 5.
Okay, so we have a little, we have an appointment that's a little outside of the way we like to do things. Mr. Maroc is not here this evening, but Mr. Maroc sent a lengthy email expressing his desire to have Mr. Hoffman reappointed. Mr. Hoffman was a part of the original Planning and Zoning Commission. We did post this for public application. We did not have anyone that applied for this position. Mr. Hoffman has been out of the quote unquote working world for a long time, so he does not have a resume. And we asked him if he would complete one, and he said, if you're gonna make me do all that, he goes, I'm out. And so, but, you know, in all seriousness, Mr. Maroc, the chairman of the committee, I wish he was here tonight, but he obviously had another engagement. He speaks very highly of the information and history that Mr. Hoffman brings to the committee, and would really like for us to consider reappointing him a little outside of our process without presenting and having a hearing and stuff. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Hank Hoffman to a 5-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I didn't know you had an opening. Did somebody drop out?
No, it's, so if you remember when we established that commission,
Right,
they had staggered terms.
right.
And so he was on the 1-year term.
Okay,
That's the term.
okay.
So originally, when he was appointed, he said, look, I'll do it for 1 year and 1 year only. But now he's willing to change his mind
Okay.
because really, Mr. Maroc relies heavily on his history. So,
So this is a 12-year term for him?
No.
well, honestly, I think he's been serving for over 20 years, so it might, you know.
Another 12 years. Just
So,
kidding.
Nope, no only question.
Questions or comments? Any other questions? Okay, we have a first and second. Okay, Ms. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Ms. Fodor.
Aye.
5
Thank you.
ayes, 1 absent.
Okay, Mr. Hedges, you're up. Good
Mr.
evening.
Mayor, we would ask for your review of the concept plan for subdivision of Hampshire 90 Logistics Park. There will be no action required tonight. I'd like to give you just a real brief introduction. First, I want to recognize Mike Azzola, who's over here back, who I think you'll all recognize, brought this project to us about 1.5 years ago. It's evolved a long way, and now Mike is just an interested broker at this point who represents the sellers. And we have with us tonight Ken Franzisi, who's the principal with Industrial Equity Partners, who will talk. And Josh is going to show you their concept plan. And so if you go.
Sure, great. Good evening, everyone.
Ken, and you might want to
I
introduce your
think-
associate.
Sure, and I think the first order of business is to apologize because I think we missed the last meeting and didn't have it on our radar, so apologize for that. But so I am with Industrial Equity Partners, so we are acting as the developer with some equity partners for this particular project. I did bring Jason Cebulski, who's with Jacob and Hefner. They're our civil engineers, so if you have any technical questions on the project, I would be more than happy to turn it over to Jason for his comment. So what you're looking at on the screen is about an 82 acre total site development. You can see the detention and wetland area here, which will remain untouched. There's some other detention in Outlot B. And then the balance of it, there's about 61 net developable acres. So we do have a signed letter of intent, not a contract, but a signed letter of intent with Vistatrans, which is a international trucking company that would locate there on lot 1. We also have a signed letter of intent, not a contract, but a signed letter of intent with Coast Connections, which is another logistics firm. So this will be the corporate headquarters for Vistatrans and then another location for Coast. So we have those two, and then lots 2 and 3 together comprise about 26 acres. We're asking the village for approval to subdivide as you see there, just to provide more flexibility to users. We think it's probably a 50-50 that we would get one user for the entire site versus 2 separate users, but they would just be marketed for that. We did run into some soils issues as we've gone through the analysis. So we had to change the detention in Outlot B a little bit. There's quite a bit of work that's got to be done down here and also on lot 2. But that gives you the gist of it. We would anticipate that other uses and buildings similar to what you see on lot 1 and lot 4 would go on lot 2 and lot 3. Okay, but so if you have any questions related to either of those pending deals or potential deals, happy to answer those questions or anything about the development in general. Okay, did I miss anything or anything else?
No, I don't think so. The only thing I would remind the board is that when it comes to logistics and trucking, we've always kept the, I won't say policy, but the practice of trying to keep those trucks on the northwest side of Route 20, which this is, or northeast side of Route 20, which this is. And so immediately parcel to the northwest is the hardware store, Ace Hardware.
Right, Ziegler's,
See the
yeah.
sign up there, there's eventually more paint sign up, they can write it now on that property, and then to the south, east would be the gross.
Yeah.
That's right. in the-
It's just a sign.
Yeah, it's just a sign. Dave Ziegler owns the property of Ziegler's Ace, so that's why he's got a billboard up on the property.
I'm just trying to give you a frame of reference on that.
So if you drive up along Route 20 or on the highway, you'll see the, yeah, it's the best kept secret in Hampshire. It's underground.
Yeah.
Visible.
Hardware store is actually up in the hill, but it's an outer part.
Just a quick question
Sure.
then, for the 2 outlots, are they primarily just going to be just left vacant land for wetlands and that type of thing is not buildable or?
Yes, so Outlot A is not buildable. That would forever stay in its untouched condition.
Okay,
And then Outlot B would also be a water feature that'll retain water, right? So it'll be wet pond.
okay.
So it'll be a water feature there, but it is undevelopable. So there would never be a building on Outlot B. Obviously, you have your water tower there as a carve out in Outlot A.
Just to follow up then for lot 3 then?
Yes.
Where it comes out, does that wetland, I mean, does that continue into that property at all?
So
Or is it all being pushed into the first outlot?
so any undevelopable area
Uh-huh.
is in Outlot B.
Okay,
So lot 3 is what we're left with. So it
Okay.
definitely has a negative impact on our layout
Okay,
for lot 3, but I mean, based on our team, that's the best that we can come up with, because the cost to remediate the soils, it's too much. Yeah.
that's fine. I just was curious
Yep.
if it migrated to the
Yeah.
other one.
So our goal would be, when we place the building and then tuck parking in those areas.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you for coming this evening. We look forward to your project.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for choosing Hampshire.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr.
Our pleasure.
At this point, we would ask for your consideration of an ordinance granting a variance in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District to allow for parking for motor vehicles on the gravel surface for Midwest companies. And here tonight to answer any questions you have is Mr. Berglund, who you all know by now, and his contractor.
Thank you, Mr. Berglund.
How are you?
Great.
Good.
As you guys know, we've approved gravel parking lots in the village before, just not in this type of zoning district, which is why they're going for the variance. I don't really think that there should be much discussion unless you guys have questions as to the why behind it, or any questions from Mr. Berglund. So with that, I'll entertain any discussion about this, or I can just call for a vote.
The gravel parking lot, there ain't really much discussion
I'm with you.
to be made.
I'm with you. Okay, so then in that case, I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance 22-8 and ordinance granting variance in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District to allow for parking of motor vehicles on a gravel surface.
So
Can I ask just one question?
Absolutely.
Just
Well,
one.
hold on. We have a first. Do we have a second? We have a second. Okay, I apologize.
I just wanted, if you could specify the map, exactly where it's going, where the gravel part is going to be.
Right here,
So it's that whole part in the center.
yeah, and I mean, I'll just, it's not just to park like trucks and stuff like that, but roll-off boxes don't do good on pavement, they'll ruin the pavement. If you put a roll-off container on the pavement in the morning, in the afternoon, it'll have divots in it. And we have big trailers and heavy equipment that have downrigger legs, they weigh 150,000 pounds. If I put those on asphalt, we'll have divots. I mean, it'll just ruin it. So the gravel is way better. And we think the gravel is better because it filters the water and all the, so that's, it's not just to save money. We think it's the greener choice, actually. Okay.
Any other questions?
Just one more. I apologize because I didn't jump last time. The long-term vehicle parking that's possibly gonna be there, how long-term? And is it trucks or just?
No, I would say it's probably not gonna be trucks, really.
Okay.
I mean, because our trucks are usually not there. It would be trailers, so that's the vehicle, and this heavy equipment, this trailerable. We have a lot of machines that are a trailer, so you just hook up to them and pull them, okay?
Okay.
Trustee Bowstring, the reason it's described as long-term is so that it's not misunderstood as daily parking for cars and all that would still require payment.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I have a question that maybe you can answer. Is there any concern about contaminants from the vehicles, trucks, roll-offs, et cetera, getting?
Well,
I
was asked the same question at the earlier meeting. So yes, but no more than, anything else would have the likelihood of leaking. I mean, we don't handle fluids, we handle construction debris, so.
Okay.
And then our equipment, it's, diesel fuel, hydraulic oil, which is, in our case, is all vegetable based, and motor oil. So if that leaks, it's an accident. So that could happen anywhere. I guess it's not more likely to happen there.
Okay, so it's not an anticipated part of the business. It would just be.
And then the other thing that I think is better is if it does leak there, it's gonna be at least filtered and not be on asphalt going right into our retention pond. Okay.
All right, I have a first and a second. Do we have any other discussion about this? I will have, Ms. Cook, can you call roll, please?
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Ms. Paulini.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
I,
Ms. Fodor.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1 absent.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Brennan.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
You didn't even have to tell me. Let's be. See you.
I have-
Okay, Mr.
At this
Edwards.
point, we would like to ask your consideration of an ordinance proposing the establishment of special service area number 28 at Stanley property. If you have any questions of this, Mr. Schuster will be happy to answer them. This is a backup SSA in the event that the property is not properly maintained.
Is that where the other guy that was here didn't have access to the gate at one point?
That's not this one.
No. All right, I'll need a little explanation before we go too far into it.
This detention area will be on the property where the storage facility is being constructed, Mr. Cole. Do you know what I mean when I said that? So, we call it the north parcel or the one that fronts to Allen Road. And so it's going to collect stormwater runoff from that subdivision. Goes over to Rowell Road, south of Allen and north of the creek. It is slightly oversized because of some compensatory storage that was still due for the Kais Avenue development. But the owner has agreed that the special service area can be on his property alone. So this will be that northern, we refer to them as Stanley, but in this particular instance, the entity is Houston Parkway LLC. It's a standard backup SSA to allow the village some means of recouping costs should the owners neglect the maintenance that will be required. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Any other questions?
Mr. Schuster, you said that a subdivision in there too, so I'm a little confused at that. This is gonna be by the.
I guess I just had assumed that Mr. Krasaska is going to subdivide. I don't think that entire parcel is storage facility.
Right.
Part of it.
Correct.
Yeah, there are three, actually, his plans call for 200,000 square foot buildings, speculations to be built when he finishes the storage buildings. So that's his plan for the rest of the parcel. So, and those will probably be subdivided at a later time, and at that time, the public.
But they're not gonna be houses.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance 22-9, creating a special SSA number 28 for the Stanley property.
And Mr. President, one more comment. If I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a three-step process. So this proposes it. You'll see in this ordinance that we're setting up a public hearing, which is by law required to be more than 60 days from today. So it'll be July 20. There'll be notice published and then mailed to the owners of the land, so they're aware. That public hearing will occur during at one of your normal meetings. And then the last step is the final establishing ordinance that gets recorded with the county and what. But just so you know, that July 20 date is in here. That'll be the next step.
Okay. Fantastic. So we have a first.
Second.
I have a second. Any other questions or comments? I hope not. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm trying to lighten the mood here a little bit. You call the roll, please.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Paulini,
Hi.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you. And now we would ask for you to discuss zoning regulations for home occupations. No action needed tonight. You have in your packets tonight an agenda supplement from Josh Ray describing some of the home occupations that we currently allow. There's discussion about state law, and there's discussion about some existing and proposed uses. So I'm going to ask Josh to walk you through this just briefly, and then this is just an open discussion to get an idea of what the board would like to have we feel like the ordinance needs to be updated because it does not address some existing businesses in town, home businesses, and as well, at least one new business that would like to come to town. Would like to operate from town. So with that, Josh, if we can review this.
The village zoning regulations currently allow a limited number of home occupations, and those are listed there. There's just a handful of them, maybe 8. And that includes 2 specific things. Jay mentioned state law. So a while back, there was an act, the Food Handling Regulation Enforcement Act, and that allows specifically for cottage food operations and home kitchen operations. So somebody wants to, bake cookies and sell them, they're allowed to do that. And then there's a handful of other things that the village has allowed. Given the prevalence of homework and online sales, staff was made aware, for example, at the BDC meeting sometime last year, I believe, that there's hundreds of people that sell things on Etsy, which is technically not allowed per the ordinance because online sales of all kinds of things are not allowed. In addition to that, there is currently a licensed firearms dealer in Hampshire that sells firearms completely online. So there's not inventory at his home, presumably, but he operates that in violation of this ordinance. That was a staff error a couple years ago before we were fully aware of how the zoning code worked. And now there is a new potential firearms retail salesperson that wants to do the same thing. So that combination of things prompted us to bring this before you today and ask for your discussion on what types of things you want to be allowed as home businesses. I also included a paragraph in here that explained that most communities in the area do not keep a specific list of what is allowed. Rather, they have a set of regulations related to parking and number of employees allowed and signage, operations, things like that, where if a home operation meets those regulations, it's allowed. If it doesn't meet that set of regulations, you can't do it. Sometimes they do have a list of prohibited occupations, which, for example, I believe it's Gilbert's and Pinker Grill and Elburn all do prohibit firearm sales as an example. So really, we're just looking for direction here. This is scheduled for a public hearing for the Planning and Zoning Commission in a few weeks. But rather than try to guess at what you all might like the regulations to be and then bring it to you, we would ask that you discuss it now.
Okay, so with that, open the floor for some discussion.
I'm more in favor of what those other communities do as far as the regulations attached to it and not the type. With the exception of firearms, I don't know how comfortable I am with that yet.
Well, I think that there's a big distinction between firearms being sold like out of your garage versus online. I think that there's a big distinction because a lot of these FFLs, they call them, like licensed firearm dealers, right? Okay, they do it online and this is their home address and this is where the transaction takes place. I think there's a big distinction of somebody pulling up and buying guns out of your garage.
With all the gun shows that go on and all the gun stores that are out there, why would you buy something from somebody in their house, from their house?
Well,
It's online.
you buy it.
I understand
They're not
that.
buying it from their house.
I understand that.
Okay, just
I'm saying, why would
Good
you?
question. All right.
Why would you buy it online? It's easier. You can't find what you're looking for a lot of times at the store, so you buy it online. It's the same thing as anything else.
I'd refer this to the chief and see what his opinion is for the gun.
I think the operation that is currently operating in Hampshire, it's not a showroom. It's somebody that will order and accept delivery of one firearm, and that person will come to the house for that one firearm. I don't believe, in fact, I know that they don't have a gun case to come and sample and look. So there isn't a showroom or a gun shop. It's somebody that does advertise online, orders a gun, picks it up at the house.
Excuse me a minute, Brian, are you sure that they pick them up at the house? Because that is not prohibited. That's never been prohibited. Are you aware that they have guns in the home?
My understanding is that's where they pick up the gun.
Do you know that to be a fact?
Don't have any personal.
We need to talk about that offline because that is absolutely not permitted. And that was not permitted 2 years ago. So if that's the case, we'll find out. But dropship only, it was the agreement, and that was the letter that I authorized 2 years ago.
Getting back though to the original thing, outside of the firearm discussion. There's too many things you can do online as a business. And if we have in our code, you are limited to this, or this, you are eliminating, right, how many Etsy shops and how many this, that, and the others that people make a living off of.
Well, I mean, and I look at like, I mean, I was in, you know, there's a bunch of people that operate like an IT company out of their house.
Right.
That's not on the list.
So we shouldn't be telling anyone what they can sell or not sell,
I agree with you. We should.
except ammo and guns.
Right, that's outside.
Because along with guns comes knives.
Yeah.
And if somebody's gonna come to the house and pick it up, he might have 2 or 3 thugs with him that they're gonna rob the guy that's selling the gun. Gunfight starts, neighbors out barbecuing, gets shot in the head. There should be no gun sales in this town. There's too many shops everywhere else that they can go buy them.
But there already is. So we have one business in town.
Which is in violation of our
If
ordinance.
The
Even
big,
though it was authorized, it was
the
a
big,
mistake
yeah.
according to this.
Well, the big, yeah.
No,
The big F is that whether or not they're picking up at the house. I think there's a big distinction again between online sales and then coming to people's houses. And to trustee Coe's point, to try to regulate what you can and cannot sell online, I don't think that that's I really don't think that that's our.
Agreed. So I would like to see, similar to what, we have a list of communities, Huntley, Pingree, Gilbert's, Marengo, so on and so forth. They have a list of operation standards that you need to follow.
Just happen to have an example from Huntley here.
All right, we love handouts.
Yeah.
You get it.
while he's passing that out, my biggest concern is, I would probably say half of my block sells things or runs a business out of their home.
Mhm.
And my concern is if we start putting down what they can and can't do, they're all going to end up falling under an ordinance like this. And it will put them out of business, and I think some of it have been there for quite some time. Just off the top of my head, I can think of multiple heating and cooling companies, air conditioning and furnaces, garage doors and garage door sales and fixing, plumbing, a lot of crafts that are in there. That's something that's specific, that's made in the home. We've got coffees that are being made in the home, which would fall into the cottage industry, bakeries that are being done there too. So,
There was a guy for years that repaired screens out of his garage in the garage.
and even, I
Knife sharpener.
think in Tuscany, someone's sharpening knives.
Yeah.
So.
And
It's just like,
So, again, I would like to see more of a rules and regulations of how you can use the property, operate your business, rather than what you can and can't sell. I don't think that's wise practice to get into. You can sell this, but you can't sell that.
We've had construction companies operating out of homes as well. Big professional builders in the village that have done a lot of work, that have had their office space out of their homes for a long time, and it doesn't fit your own code.
No, that's,
So I think, I don't know, I don't want to get into the ins and outs, and I know how the board feels about like physical picking up of guns. I think that needs to be done in a retail space, if at all. Okay, I think there's a big difference, retail space versus a home. But I don't know how we would even begin to enforce the regulating of online businesses of any kind. So, I mean,
I don't think that should be our business in the first place.
I would agree with that. So whether you're selling candy or guns out of your online, I mean, really, how do you regulate it?
Right.
As long as they're not coming to your house to pick it up. There's a big distinction.
What if they're accepting delivery of product at their home?
Again, that would be something, that's something we can regulate, right?
Because especially if it is firearms or ammunition, I wouldn't want somebody to be accepting large deliveries or, multiples, because again, we do have people who follow that.
But you also have to understand that industry in general is regulated like crazy.
As it should be.
So,
Candy will kill you over 60 years.
doesn't matter. I don't want my neighbor selling a gun and shooting my kid by accident
do not.
because somebody's gonna try and rob them.
Not disagreeing, I'm just saying that it's the same, what I'm saying is it's the same type of argument. So if you want to regulate, like especially when it comes to picking stuff up, like commercial product or whatever, I mean, is that something that's within an ordinance or something, if it's over a certain amount of whatever?
I mean, that's where I think we'll have some challenges. I think we may have to be specific on what you do not want to have inventory held in the house. For example, if you're a fuller brush person going back to the 50s and 60s or anybody else, Avon, you're going to have inventory at home. Now, in those cases, they had people in their homes, we're not encouraging that.
Color brush.
But if I'm, yeah, it goes back, well, you remember that? Fuller brush. My father knocked doors selling fuller brush, that's why. But anyway, there are a lot of people who will bring inventory into their home and then distribute it. My neighbor sells batting cages and the UPS truck is there all day long. My other neighbor just buys a lot on Amazon, so the truck's over there, just delivering Amazon. So it's a question of, if you want to regulate the inventory, we may have to be specific about.
We shouldn't.
what type of inventory.
We're not in the business to regulate what you can sell out of your home
But you say that.
within reason.
Okay, within reason. So, but, okay, so the question is like fire code and that kind of stuff, okay, because we're concerned about the ammo, I'm like, I don't know, I wouldn't want my neighbor selling tons of fertilizer out of his garage either, you know, so like, does fire code dictate any of that stuff? Fire code or like building regulations or any of that kind of stuff, zoning?
Or state
We'd have to look into it. I think the storage of certain types of fertilizer could, if it's explosive. You know, if it's stored around other materials where it could be mixed with, potentially, we'd have to look into that.
Because I would think that there has to be, I don't know, but I would think that there has to be safeguards in place.
Could you give us some ideas about the kinds of things you would not like to see in inventories like that, fertilizers, anything explosive, maybe weapons?
Safety hazards, I think, has always been the concern.
I think we don't have a solution this minute, but we can look into that if we see.
I mean, I think that that's what the impression I'm getting from this board is that you're concerned about the safety, right? So therefore, keeping inventory that could potentially be unsafe when, you know, stored around other things or fires or whatever.
If you look through this country one, it has a few of these things in there. Like, back in page 1, XI 9. Number 2, no in-stock carriage shall be displayed or sold upon the premises. Number 7, no hazard shall be created that would endanger the dwelling unit or its occupants or other structures or their occupants by reason of additional fire, health, safety, or environmental hazard. So a lot of these things are in there in a general sense. I think the more specific you get, then the more someone has a chance to like, oh, well, you listed fertilizer and batteries, but you didn't list that. So I'm gonna go ahead and sell that. So I think you keep it general, that kind of closes that
So
door.
that takes the approach of the impact of the business rather than being specific of
Right.
what it is.
Right.
Because I think everything that we've talked about tonight would be covered by what this reads.
Yeah, and this is my first glance at it, obviously, but it goes back to there should be regulation on the property and not, and how it's maintained and used, as opposed to what you are doing with your personal time, with your personal business. We shouldn't be messing with that to an extent.
And this even goes,
100% agreement with firearms, that should be not allowed. That's my personal opinion on it.
this even goes so far as to say you can't put your trash into your regular garbage and you can't operate.
No, you're not getting a dumpster,
Right.
you should, yeah.
Right, Mr. Hedges, right now our ordinance says you cannot have inventory. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So,
Which would include almost any inventory, if you produced it or shipped it in or whatever, technically. Inventory is not covered.
so if I've got hats that I just want to sell because I have an extra
Yeah,
hat I
maybe
don't
20
want.
I've made 20 hats for the sale this weekend. Technically, you're in violation.
But if I'm going through and I have 5 hats I don't like and I'm going to sell them, that's technically inventory for my own business if I'm doing it. And I mean, I'm concerned with that, the inventory part of it, because people do, I mean, furnace business, they're gonna have regular parts that usually go, that they're gonna have some that they keep on hand. And then there's other good people that are doing crafts. I mean, I've seen, I shared with Mr. Hedges where I've gone, when I was looking for houses, that people in their whole basement is set up with crafts. And they do craft shows, and so they're constantly making, and downstairs in their basement, everything is organized nice. That's a lot of
Or
inventory.
you said they do craft shows, so they take all that inventory to the craft show.
Right.
They're not
But it's storage of
displaying it or
inventory.
selling it on their
Storage of
premises.
inventory. Because I know nothing's being sold
In
on
our current,
farms.
in our current or this one here?
No, I'm just, right now, Mr. had just said that we can't have inventory.
I'm fine with storing that inventory.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
As long as it's not creating additional fire, health, safety, or environmental hazards.
Okay, so that's.
Like, my inventory is all that crap in my crawl space right now. It's my house, I'm gonna store whatever I want there, you know? So if you wanna store all your craft supplies in your basement, go right ahead.
The other concern that was just raised was, for you, was limiting the amount of comings and goings to the house. And I think whether you have a business or not, I think if you stood outside your street, your house, and watched the deliveries, you know, FedEx, private deliveries, et cetera, constantly. And whether you might not have a business, but you probably have a lot of stuff, and you could get your groceries that way. So that's constantly. So I think if we try to prohibit the amount of, you know, traffic or the limit the amount of deliveries you can receive, that's based on when they can get it.
I would, but to be, just to the other side of it, if you don't have something in here that specifically addresses the traffic, if there is an issue at some point, I don't know what there would be, but I'm just trying to think out in the future. If there is a business where people are coming and going every day and there is a nuisance to a resident of some kind, the village has no teeth to enforce anything because they're gonna say, well, according to this, there's nothing. So, I mean, I'm not saying that we actively did not enforce it, right? I understand what you're saying because the crime gang comes by the neighborhood 3 or 4 times a day, plus FedEx and everything else. But I think that if we don't have that general line in here, just be general, if there's an issue later on, you might be able to.
President, along that same vein, as your village prosecutor, I'll tell you that one way to look at this list is when a home occupation becomes a nuisance to everyone, you need to think in terms, what will be in here that will allow you to adjust it or prohibit it. So if the delivery trucks are lined up down the street 4 days of the week, you say, wait, that's more traffic than we allow. If they come there twice a day, that's flow down the street. If you're storing things and you've packed your entire garage and keep it in the backyard as well, now you've got to do something you can use to enforce it. Somebody who's got yarn in her basement to make crafts for the craft, not bothering anything. Nobody will ever know. So that's one way to look at it, is you need a list of things that you can use to control if it becomes a problem. If it's not a problem, nobody's gonna care. But when it is a problem, now you need something you need an anchor to say, you can't do it because of this.
But Huntley has done a nice job here in addressing those concerns in section F, subsection 7, 8, and 9, but especially 7 with the traffic limitations. They worded it as no home-based business shall generate more vehicular or pedestrian traffic than is typical of residences in the area, which, you know, kind of covers us from 2019 all the way through the pandemic with the increase in delivery traffic and now.
Now, number 9 is what gets me, because we've talked about this at the length.
Section.
Yes. Section F, number 9, licensing requirement. Now, we've dabbled in this over the years. And to my understanding, we don't have any teeth to require a business license. It's one of the things that we've been trying to get the state to change to allow non-home rule communities to do business licenses. If we pass this ordinance and it's in here, does that give us authority to do it because it's in one of our ordinances? Or is that where that inapplicable in case the state changes? I understand that, but I'm saying that
you can't give yourself that authority. So without, right on the face of it, right, you'd have to take that one out if you want to just copy it.
You can look at federal and
I
state.
missed it by that much.
This is also probably talking about like food businesses and stuff too, with the health department has to.
Yeah, those other things should stay in there, the state,
Right.
federal, because
Right.
the health department still, in some cases, has to inspect everything. Food
Right.
trucks still have to get an inspection.
One of the state regulations by January 2nd of 2021 is that, for those who deal in weapons, they must also install and maintain a video security system that records areas in the location where the dealer's firearms are stored, handled, sold, or transferred. So if this individual is having people come to their home to pick up, is that happening? Because it also has to include any entrances and exits, and those video records must be retained for at least 90 days. So does that open up the village to liability if we are saying, sure, go ahead? Do we have to make sure that they are doing this? I mean, how does?
I would doubt, because firearms are federally regulated,
And state.
so it's up to ATF
Mhm.
to check on,
Well,
alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Right,
uh,
to license.
Personnel to check on the licensing that they've issued to the person who is selling.
Mhm.
And the second applicant, the one who has not yet proceeded, has made very clear, drop ship, you're not gonna have any inventory.
And that's the same,
All drop ship.
same as the first person.
So is that like? I
You would buy a
contact him to buy
gun from me.
online and you send, it never arrives at your house.
Correct.
And I never go to your house to pick it up.
That's
I don't,
yes.
my business, I don't even see that, I don't touch the gun, I have no physical contact with that weapon.
I ship it to you.
What I'm hearing the board say is anything, certain things that have, they're dangerous, hazardous, those are the things that you don't want in the home.
Mhm.
And that
Right.
clearly, we can.
Right. I am in. I
We
see
will
here-
describe them, not be specific.
Right. I see like Gilbert's, Pingree, Elbert prohibit firearm sales. I am in favor of prohibiting physical firearm sales. Like if you want to do it all online and you contact me and I find you the weapon, I order it, I ship it directly to you. It never comes into my home or you never come to my house to pick it up because I don't have it. I'm just the middleman doing the deal for you. I'm fine with that because it's an online thing. I don't want, like as Trustee Pope was saying, I don't want you coming to my house to pick up weapons because then you're bringing a lot of problems potentially. So I'm in favor of no physical
In the home.
in the home. If it's online, as this has been stated before, I mean, it's gonna happen.
If I can ask in services, I know we've got certain things in here already, I think that say that you can have professional services in there. But specifically, I'd like to just raise the doing of hair, someone having a salon in their home, massage therapists, have let people come to their home as well, and tattoos. And I know a number that do tattoos, so you come to the house and they do.
So
I have
that's,
experience in that, actually. They're considered artists, so it falls under the art category.
Okay,
and if you're not running that business out of your home, they're coming to your home.
that is a business, that they're coming and they're paying for your service.
Yeah, but if you're a tattoo, somebody doing tattoos out of their house, they're not gonna have 30 people a day.
No, but I mean, it is somebody that is coming into the home.
Well, it's like just calling the dog groomer to come over and give the dog a bath. I mean, it's the same thing.
But it's a home business.
I do that.
Oh, there's no problem with it. Or having
How about Tupperware?
the carpet shampoo.
How about the whole basement's full of Tupperware, or the,
Inventory.
what's that, seasoned salt, the Tampered Chef? They have to have inventory.
Yeah.
I think we're just micromanaging too much.
No, I think that they should be
I think
able
we just, we should refer this back to legal, take this and run with it and come back.
Just a reminder, that there's still gonna be a public hearing also.
I don't care.
Planning and zoning commission.
I don't care.
And
We should have bullets loaded before the
Wait, no,
public
we
hearing.
can't. So either one.
He should draft us something so we have something prior to, The public hearing.
Thank you for restating that.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hedges, do you have your marching order, sir?
I think we have a pretty good idea what you want, and we'll come back with something that tries to hit the target.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on.
Okay.
With that, we would ask for a motion to approve a payment to Kane County Excavating for the connection of water main project in the amount of $214,835.40. I would like to thank Tim Paulson, who's online with us, for the daily updates that we've been receiving and making significant progress now that they board underneath Big Finger Road. You can start to see the trenching up Gas Road very soon. If you have any questions about the specifics, all the documentation and the waivers are in your packet.
I will entertain a motion to approve the payment to Kane County Excavating for the water main project in the amount of $214,835.40.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
That is 25%, about 25% of the project done and the original first payment.
Sounds about right.
Any other questions? Ms. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Paulson,
Yes.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Ms. Fuller.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1.
Thank you.
Not to steal your thunder, Mr. Hedges. Mr. Cole,
What?
this is all you, man.
What? Oh,
I
the,
thought you'd be
Item
more
G.
excited.
Item G is being deferred to you, Mr. Coth.
yeah, 163 is cheap. Cause it comes with wheels, right?
I would say it's gassed up and Dave is probably already.
It's got a windshield and stuff. I think we should go buy it tomorrow.
Lori's offered to drive it in from Rockland tomorrow.
It's located about 4 miles from my house. I got a picture of one, so you know what it looks like.
No, I'm not.
So he's volunteered to go get it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Invite Lori to drive it home.
Mr. Coth, you did this last week. You want to do it this week?
I'll make the motion to go buy it tomorrow.
There you go.
Okay, I've got,
All
anyways,
right.
That's
That's the real model.
I've got a first and a second. Mr. Clerk, Mr. Coth, do the honors. Call the roll.
Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Matt. Ms. Paulson.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1.
You want to do the next one?
No, but on that, just so you know, we have a combination, a little backhoe, and the bucket's about 4 feet, 5 feet smaller than that one. So it takes 45 minutes to load a truck with salt. So when the truck comes back in, and if there isn't somebody loading another truck, the driver's getting out and loading, it takes 45 minutes. This will take 15.
When you think efficiency, you think Toby Cole.
Yes.
All right, you want to do the next one? All right, Mr. Hedges, it's back to you. Sorry, I didn't want to take that from you, but we've heard about this rubber tire unloader for years.
We would ask for a resolution to authorize the purchase of a 2021 Ram 5500 with equipment from Henderson Products at a cost of $100,153.
My only question is, this is off the state bid, and all this, or no?
This is not off the state bid.
They don't go up that high?
Well,
just not available.
they probably do. They're not available and, this is a demo vehicle.
Sure.
It has 1,849 miles on it.
Okay.
And, it's available today.
So
So
great. So who's gonna, is that in Rockford too?
that's in, actually over in Powell
Oh, even better.
at Henderson.
So they can, you can swing through there with the unloader.
No, you get that truck first and then
waiting for a
go
call.
get that loader, bring a boat back same
Dave's
time.
waiting for a call to start.
Yeah, Dave's waiting. Actually, Bill was supposed to be here to call Dave.
I already notified him.
Secret code.
It has a cup holder.
That's what I want to know.
Was it white?
It has a cup holder.
Please tell me it's
Well,
white.
I'm sorry, it has a cup holder mount. So sorry.
For the 5,500?
Yeah.
Oh,
I wondered if what's the.
It doesn't say, it doesn't say what color it is.
It's white.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's on this.
All right, well, I can't read. So, questions? Yes?
Yeah, it says here to purchase the 2022 Dodge Ram 5500, but the recommendation then is for a 2021.
In the 2023 challenge.
It's 2021.
It is, so the top one is 21. My other question is, well, it's a concern, is that if we had a Dodge Ram before, and I don't know trucks and I don't need to be saying anything bad, but if we had a Dodge Ram that had a frame that cracked that made it useless within 10 years, and now we're buying one that's already 1 year old, does that mean we're buying something for just 9 years? Or what is the typical life use of a truck like this used in a village?
These guys are pretty.
It's, no, salt is what eats metal.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, this won't be used for salt.
It
This is for
will
the
be-
water department, isn't it?
No, this is going to be used for the street department with salt, ice control. But I think the big difference is they now have that sprayer that they have, they're able to, spray the undercarriage.
There's a
And-
chemical they built a sprayer, they drive over.
Yeah.
And there's a chemical that they use to spray, which neutralizes the salt, so it doesn't eat away at the frame and the underneath all the metal parts.
So we didn't have that when we bought this original 2010.
No, they just did it,
That's something Dave's guys rigged up with.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not buying something that's only got a 10-year life, but
No.
that answers.
This is
all my
not a
questions.
giant truck. It is literally a pickup, a large pickup truck.
9 years.
So,
It's a $100,000 pickup truck.
but it, I mean,
But with the outfit.
without a doubt, but 9 years really isn't probably that bad. They
Okay.
don't get a lot of miles, so it, like to you and I that drive, it doesn't
Okay.
seem right, but yeah, it's just.
Okay.
Me personally, I'm comfortable with it. I mean, even if we only got 9 years out of it, hopefully we get more out of it, but I mean, you see, they're in it every day, all day, you know? I mean, it's different than a commuter.
Mary, if I could just, make one, to your point, we budget for 7 years life in our capital improvement plan.
Okay, that's good to know too. We shouldn't look at a Ford or a Chevy or anything else where.
We looked at what was available. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So we just, when you get to the next one, or whenever we get down to the purchases of vehicles, we ordered a truck from James Motors for the water department that Toby was talking about, and it took like, oh my gosh,
6 months.
no,
Longer.
even longer than that.
Yeah, no, we did that the night we did the squads, the last meeting that Jeff was still here.
Oh,
That
I was
was,
gonna say, I thought it was about a year.
but it was a year ago and it came in about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the last couple of meetings ago, we ordered a truck that for 2023 or 2024 that had a 16.5 month year or 16.5 month lead time. So, in all seriousness, if they can get the truck tomorrow, they should jump on it because
Yeah.
otherwise they're gonna be waiting.
And this one's fully equipped. The truck that we bought for Mark is now waiting to get, we talked about actually, like writing the check for it, right? It was authorized a long time ago and then we wrote the check. But it still doesn't have the service bed. We're waiting for all the parts, like the whole, and this one's just ready to like drive off.
okay,
So that's the big difference.
And it's only got 1,000 miles on it, so even though it's a year old, it's $6,000.
okay. Thank you.
All right, so do we have a first and second? Okay, can I entertain a motion to approve the purchase of a Ram 5500, please? Thank you. 22-5, so I get the resolution number. All right, for a second, no more discussion, hearing none, Ms. Clerk, can you call roll?
Ms. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Ms. Paulson.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson. Motion passed 5-1 yes.
Thank you. We would now ask for a resolution to approve a request for reimbursement for a sidewalk repair project at 239 Schmidt Drive in the amount of 1/3 of the lowest bid or $1,291.67. This is you have the application in your packet. This is, probably one of the 2 or 3 sidewalk program applications that we'll get all year. We have $20,000 budgeted for this.
Can I ask a question? Why does this come before the board? Is it just because it's always come before the board?
It's written.
I think we need to change that. No offense to the rest of you, but I mean, we trust Mr. Hedges to spend, we talked about this today, I'm sorry, short term, you $25,000.
We pay a
you
third.
spend.
Right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't even be brought.
Yes, I think that I think we need to change the code so that the staff can just handle this because we allocate in the budget so much money out of this program. And I don't think that $1,000 purchase needs to come from. if they're gonna vet the process the same way. My 2 cents?
As long as we have staff.
Right. No, well, yeah,
Which,
no.
like, it's weird, so-
Right, no.
The code we have to.
Well, I'm just saying,
So again, the quote's necessary in the packet. Everything's been done. I's have been dotted, T's have been crossed. I will entertain a motion to approve the reimbursement of the sidewalk project at 239 South Schmidt Drive for 1/3 the lowest bid. With the note that says we need to change this so we don't see the rates again. Questions, comments? Ms. Clerk?
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Fuller,
hi,
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Ms. Paulson, Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Motion passed by 1.
Okay, now to clear up any suspense.
Yes, so I'm going to read this and then I'll explain myself. We would ask your consideration of a motion to modify the facade grant award for the Hampshire Social Project at 123 South State Street, increasing the amount from 55,563, 57,406.13. I think the agenda supplement is clear on this in front of you. We were sitting here last week, you all recall, 2 weeks ago. There were a lot of numbers in front of us and I just gave you bad information. It's that simple. And so I believe what the motion was to fund 75% of the project after adding back in the patio and the fence, as trustee Kelly had addressed. What we simply did, took the wrong math. And so the number you passed 75%, but the number that you passed was not 75%. So it's kind of contradictory in that sense. So the question is, what is the board's preference to have 75%, which would require this motion? Or if not, we can table this motion indefinitely and the grant award will be $1,200 less. Excuse me, that's still wrong because it's around $1,800 less than 75%.
You would be 75%.
I think we were clear what we wanted.
Point of order, a motion was made, voted on and approved at the last meeting. Can someone tell us what the amount was that the board voted to approve?
55,563.
No, it was not.
No?
I don't believe it
Yes,
was.
that is actually the amount that you approved. You approved 75% of that amount.
Because the minutes reflect a different number, so the substantially different number, so. I wasn't here, so,
Was that 47,000?
yeah, so where did that 47 come from?
That's actually 75% of the 75% number.
So the 47,000 was 75% of the project, but not including the patio or the fence, which is what the BGC recommended, and that's why that was how it was stated on the agenda. The board then decided to put those elements back in, so the total project cost increased, therefore the 75% increased. It just simply voted on the wrong 75%.
I think, I was just trying to,
Oh, okay.
Matt, figure it out in my head, I'm sorry, it wasn't, Mayor.
This is, no, it's not. This is just the heading. It was the, no, project base. Yeah.
So the actual number was that 55,000.
Yes, right.
That's what the minutes said.
But our intent was to give the gentleman 75%.
if you look at page 4 of the minutes that we just approved at the beginning of the meeting, like 4th paragraph in, trustee Kelly asked Mr. Hedges to confirm the amount. If the board chose to award 75% of the total project, including the patio and fence, and then that's the amount that we have. And I'm assuming that's where the map error came in, which is what we voted on, even though it's clear here that our intent, the board discussed it, would like to preserve and enhance the patio and back. So, yes, one tiny question on page 70 on the agenda supplement, it does say on May 5th, which would be today, that we voted on this today, but I think that was referencing April 21st.
Yes.
Village board meeting, just a tiny little. thing. I have
That-
no problem.
That being said, if it was the intent of the board to fund the project at 75% at that $57,406.13, I will entertain a motion to modify the facade improvement grant award to the higher amount, which funds the project at 75% with all the facets added back into it at $57,406.13.
So moved.
Second, questions, comments? Hearing none, Ms. Clerk?
Ms. Paulson,
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Cole,
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1 absent.
Thank you. You have before you the building department report and the streets report. If you have any questions about those, these are year-end reports, so those are totals for, the totals for our permits for the year. Maybe if you'd like to add anything about streets.
I have a question about the.
Nothing's broke too big yet.
Everything's new.
I can't say enough.
No, water mains.
Okay.
I can't say enough about what the street department has done in the last couple of weeks preparing for streetscape and adjusting every day something a little bit. I'm really proud of the parking lot. We'll talk a little bit about streetscape.
I have a question about the number of new home permits issued. I'm just wondering, are they primarily located in one development or another, or are they spread out?
I can tell you that there are roughly 20 basements poured now in Thames Farm. I counted today, actually 20 exactly. So that's where a lot of them come from. And then, of course, in Prairie Ridge, and the rest are coming between the two villages. We're seeing construction now in the townhome area, neighborhood M over off of Kelly Road, Kelly Road. Just north of where they're building. You take Kelly Road till the dead ends to the west, and you'll see where the townhomes are. That'll be the DR Horton townhomes. We're starting, the infrastructure is going.
Are they gonna start the apartments, off 72 here?
Yes, the same, they're townhomes as well, and apartments for townhomes, it's the same townhomes, DR Horton, again, builder. They have signed a contract now with,
I thought we had
No, he was talking about a Romkey instead of.
Romkey and 72, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, I apologize, I misunderstood which area. There are no apartments planned for that right now.
Came in and talked about it, but then they had some problems with the soil, correct?
Yeah, they're just, right now, they're considering other options. At this point, there's one particular tenant, two particular tenants that we're working with that are not public at this point. I think some of you are aware of.
Commercial users, commercial retail users
And
and institutions,
but that property is somewhat less.
not multi-use. What do they call it? Multi-unit residential. Not multi, whatever not apartments.
That's not their plan today, but no plan's been submitted at this point, so we don't really know yet.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, before you, we get to look at some accounts payable. So the accounts payable for personnel is a relatively small amount. Does anyone have any questions about the accounts payable for personnel? No questions. Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable to personnel in the amount of $504.48. First. You can't second it. Somebody else has to second it. Okay, I have a first and a second. Questions and comments about the accounts payable to personnel? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mr. Cole,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Ms. Paulson.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1 absent.
Now for the big one.
That is.
That is a large number here.
Page 6.
Page 6.
EPA, I'm guessing,
Yep, that is,
$122,000.
that, it's actually 129, maybe 130, it should be.
Oh, yeah, total.
Yeah,
129.
That is our wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
Look at the interest though. The interest is very low.
Yeah.
We're getting really close.
Okay.
Just a few pages left.
Any other questions?
On page 10,
Page 10, 485.
45, the River Valley Turf Partnership, that's for the facade program. And I was just curious as to which unit or which that was for.
That's the old doctor's office across the street.
The one that was just redone with the stone and the lights and all
Okay,
that.
okay, that's all, that's.
Spoke to the owners this week. They might have a potential renter. So that can be exciting. Maybe. So. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Yes, on page 86, 11 of the report, What is the top line, the bank?
That's an administrative fee for the bond that we have that's split between streets and the TIF district. They charge a agent fee dispersed bond payments.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the regular accounts payable, in the amount of $524,164.56. First. Can't second it again. I don't know how many times you try.
Second.
Perfect. All right, we got a first and a second. Questions, comments? Hearing none. I will ask Ms. Clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Hi.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Paulini,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
motion passed by.
Fantastic. Next, we have village board committee reports, and I know Mr. Hedges and Mr. Ray were or present together or separately, but I did speak with trustee Krajewski, former trustee Krajewski, sorry, it's bad habit. And I spoke with him this week about BDC, and they're working, so Susie Kopaz and Ian Lamb both put their resignation in to not serve anymore because Ian's just too booked and Susie is relocating. Okay, so that presented the BDC with 2 open spaces. Former trustee Krajewski, Chairman Krajewski, has asked us to consider, us being the board, to consider removing those 2 seats from the BDC because he feels that a group of 7 people with what they're trying to get accomplished, it makes a very big room full of different opinions. And it is becoming hard to get things accomplished in a timely fashion, which I can understand and respect. Now, we as a village board set that as an ordinance, right? So the number of people are defined in an ordinance. So rather than electing to change the ordinance right away, he is going to bring it to his committee, talk to his commission about it. And my thought process is just let it be, because there's no rule that says that we have to appoint to fill those spaces right now. So my thought would be let it be for a little while. Let him see if it accomplishes the goal that he thinks it's going to. If it does after a set period of time, we can then change the ordinance to pull the 2 people, the 2 open seats off. So just food for thought.
Can we set the ordinance to be up to 7 members?
That's a legal question. I don't know how we could do that.
Two what?
Up to.
Up to, instead of this commission will have 7 members, could we set the ordinance to read? We could look, this commission can have up to 7 members.
It would have to remain an odd number though, right?
Be advisable to have an.
No less than 5.
How would
Just a
that,
thought.
how would that interfere with the staggered terms then?
Voting.
If we're gonna let it sit for a while, they're gonna come into a term that's already set for 4 years or 3 years. So it would be to fill it when they want to, but
Well, I don't intend to leave it open for a year or 2 years. I intend to leave it open for a few months to see if it accomplishes the goal that he's thinking it's going to. I mean, we've really empowered the chairmen of the committees and commission to run their boards and commissions as they see fit. I trust his judgment about this. I mean, the meetings are long, they are long. Okay, so and that's not to say that they're not accomplishing things. He just thinks that maybe there's an opportunity there to kind of streamline things and, you know, I think it's worth the experiment, for lack of better terminology. And so rather than changing the ordinance right away, I think we should let him take the ball and run with it and see where it gets us. So there's that, and they're working on their long-term planning and setting goals for the BBC, and identifying ways that they think that they can help the village and work on a long-term economic development plan for the village. Did I miss anything?
Only that the next meeting will be on May 11th. That's what I see.
Okay, so, and I will be in the next meeting is next Wednesday, like you said, I will be there to kind of discuss this, so. Public relations.
Yes, we had a meeting last Thursday. I don't remember what we did. I'm trying to pull up the minutes the draft minutes. that I
You did approve your minutes.
Uh,
Saw that.
It was a bridge short.
It was.
Possibility of changing date. Future meetings, and it conflicts with other community activities, specifically the historical society it's every time at our current dates.
Trustee Fodor, what I recall is you did talk about how often you would be considered maybe a meeting every other month or on demand. And then you talked about strategies for PR audiences. And then there was some discussion about items for July.
Yes, thank you.
The other,
She was just gonna say that.
I could read your mind.
She was that
You have the
close.
minutes up on your screen, don't you?
No, I don't.
the other
We
reason,
both took minutes and we shared them. and
Steel
we
trap,
combined
right
right.
there.
That's right.
the other reason apart from the conflict, historical society was maybe give us a little more time, because we're at the end of the month, and if we're gonna do something, put in the newsletter, we've got very short amount of time to get something activated. So we talked about making it earlier.
That we need to check. Others. One of the other things that we talked about is what we really need to figure out if our public relations, are we getting the messages out to our residents in a way that they are consuming information. So we would like to hear from you. If you're watching this meeting, please reach out to us and let us know, but chances are pretty small.
How do you get the information?
The newsletter. This will be a big one.
And that's
We
in
spend
the
a lot
water
of money
bill?
on it. And it goes to every water customer.
I spoke to the senior citizens group in town. They love the newsletter, love it. So you guys are doing a great job. And Mr. Rossetti is watching.
Yes. We are very thankful that he assists us.
They love being in the know. Once every 2 months, they know what's going on and they see the pictures and we get a heads up about things. So the newsletter is making a difference.
Just one more thing you might want to mention is that you did ask that staff put together a 1-year update from Flood Brothers.
Yes.
And I have communicated with Michael Flood and we're putting together a packet. We'll probably end up doing another mailing.
Okay.
I'm working with him to see if they'll print it and then we can just get it posted.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works out. But the PR committee suggested there were a couple questions on Facebook recently about Flood Brothers. People have kind of forgotten what some of the special pickups are in the fee schedule. So they thought after 1 year would be a good idea. So we're on our way to do that.
Public Works.
Yes, you have the report, some of it. The one thing that's not on here, I haven't pounded Dave on. If anybody, you especially, you drive around and see the condition of the roads, we don't have ample money each year to pave dozens and dozens of roads. I want a tar kettle. You put in a big block of rubber, you turn the heat on, it melts it, and you fill the cracks. And that'll buy us a lot of time on our streets. You see them doing it out on the main roads. But they're probably 20, 25 grams.
Tar kettle.
Tar kettle.
I think we have in the budget for crack sealing this year.
Right, but he has to rent the crack machine
Yeah.
and then everything stops and they get on it because the machine's expensive. If we had our own, then on down days and stuff. So I'm pounding our street superintendent pretty hard to get one. So just so you know. But think about it, all the roads, we're not gonna get to them all. So let's buy time the right way and fill them with the crack fill.
I like it. Budget. Okay, so new business. Mr. Hedges and I are gonna tag team this, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think, so we discovered during construction, I think all of you know by now, that we discovered some pavers, just the cross section picture that was of the brick. Yeah,
If you guys don't have a picture, there happens to be a brick.
yeah, there's a brick right there, which we cleaned up very nicely. I think Dave actually took this picture. This is right in front of Village Hall, and you can see where those bricks are and how far down they are. Actually, you can see the top of the sidewalk there from Warren City. It's a glare, but was it maybe 4 to 5, 6 inches below the surface? So as they were excavating and doing the demolition, let's just say there was a fair amount of excitement that night. I received several phone calls at home, several text messages, and there was concern about salvaging or at least preserving some historic value. So I think that's the discussion, and based on the mayor's suggestions, we have come up with one suggestion, but I think we'd certainly encourage any discussion or ideas.
I think it's important. I think it's
to share that.
I think it's important to say, okay, so everybody thought, not everybody, okay, but the thought process was, is we talked about bricks, we didn't have the money for bricks. Look, we found all these bricks. Maybe we should use all these bricks for bulb outs. We should use them for crosswalks. We should. Staff looked into this, okay, and other communities have tried this. And there's like a 25% like average about how many bricks are going to be actually usable. And then the types of bricks that these are don't lock in with other ones. And if we were going to use them for crosswalks, public works would need to do rubber blades on their plow type thing so they don't rip them up when they plow. And so there's a whole bunch of discussion, not to even talk about the sorting the bricks out and then engineering or putting them in and cutting them and all that other stuff. I really, really like the plan that was presented to me. If you guys are okay, let's just fast forward through all those scenarios because they're pretty expensive. And they're pretty, like, let's hear what Mr. Hedges has to offer. And then we can discuss the other.
Well, so first of all, if you can just get perspective, this is the corner right outside of Village Hall here. At can never get Jefferson and Jackson right, but it's Jefferson and State. And so this is the corner right in front of James Motors. And you can see the arrow, Jared, gosh, you can use your cursor where it says proposed post clock. And that, scroll up so we can see the words. Yeah, so right there, proposed post clock, and type in the arrow pointing to where the clock will be, that little square. And then this has actually been engineered by, there's a really, Doug is a young engineer at EEI who's done a whole bunch of streetscape, and I didn't know he was behind it. He actually did most of the design for our streetscape, even though Bill was managed by Purdue. He participated in our weekly call on Wednesday morning when we discussed this. Because that's just yesterday morning. Seems like a month ago. So what he's proposed would be 150 square feet of our pavers that would be salvaged from where they've been shipped already, but we have consolidated. Because the company they're holding, pardon? It's consolidated.
Okay.
Anyway, they're holding the bricks for us before they grind them. That's the next step, to grind these bricks. Do whatever they do with ground bricks. So they're holding for us until next Friday. All we have to do is give them word, and then this is completely being done by outside contract. And right now it was quoted at, I believe, got this per square foot amount, $39 per square foot. And that includes going to the yard, salvaging the bricks, cleaning the bricks, cutting the bricks to size, and putting this little mosaic pattern in 150 square feet. That would cost about $10,000 total. So if that would give you historic value, give you a historic point to where the bricks are, maybe around the historic clock. So that's one of the options that we came up with. You can do a smaller area that would be less expensive. I would not recommend doing anything more than this because salvaging any more bricks than that would be really expensive.
Well, not only that, but then the upkeep of them long term. I mean, other towns have done this where they pulled cobblestones back up and they've done them in crosswalks and that kind of stuff. And it gets onerous to keep up with it because they keep getting ripped out of the street. There may be structural damage to the inside of the brick.
Is there gonna be traffic on that eventually?
No,
This is a pedestrian thing. I know it's a $10,000 purchase thereabouts. I think it's important to incorporate some of the history. I just do. I mean, I think that our embrace opportunity and honor tradition. I think that it would be.
That's a smart thing.
Right. I think Toby came up with that. So, but honestly, I think that we have this opportunity, right? I don't want to get on the soapbox, but like we have this opportunity, right? We have all this brick in front of us from our history. I think we're trying to encourage people to get into the history of town. I think like this is one of those once in a lifetime things. We can either recycle them and say heck with it and go with new stuff, or spend the 10 grand and put them around the clock. That's my gut. Me personally, I would really like it.
Does anybody look into what it would cost to water and grave them?
What?
You mean like, so to sell them to people? to put
No,
their name
just
on?
Village of Hampshire. Whether it's, that big or that big.
Or, oh, like, once they're installed on the ground, like.
Well, you would have it, you would send the bricks and they can cut it with a laser
Oh, like.
with water. They can write Village of Hampshire and then still do that, but put Village of Hampshire in there somewhere.
I mean, like inlay within the bricks somehow.
Yeah,
We could look at putting our H maybe.
yeah.
That would be neat, but kind of like kills the historic value of the brick, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's.
How big of an
I mean,
area?
if we, it's 150 square feet.
You want 100 square foot H?
I
I'm looking at an H like that. I'm not looking at a 100
We
square
could
foot.
have some sort of medallion made.
Sure.
Be a separate item.
We gotta get people to come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand what he's saying.
Maybe a member to plaque that could say, streetscape 2020.
Yeah, something.
It would be
2021 scratched out, 2022.
The town deserves that.
How old are the bricks?
So from what I understand, some of the bricks said 1933 on them. The ones that I've seen don't have any type of date. I know this company, this bar company was a brick company that was on a streeter that disappeared. It was really popular brick company and then they just kind of pulled it up.
I've ripped out streets in Chicago. We hit brick 20, 30 feet down that had bar on them. So that company was around for a long time.
So I know it's not typical that I would come to and ask for a purchase like this because I know we're always trying to scrimp pennies and trying to do the best, but I think we're spending all this money on streetscape. I think it would add to the appeal of downtown and it would give people that, hey, that's kind of cool that they kept some of these bricks.
Just to let people know too, when I was picking up my packet, people were digging them up. Families were there with cars, with the kids going to pick bricks up one at a time and filling the cars. I saw someone else that came on a bike with a shovel to start digging them up. So there was some interest there that it's something historical. I don't know what they're gonna do with 20 or 30 bricks, but two kids going back and forth for quite some time, so,
It'll be a neat
we're
base.
throwing them away, so I'm not worried about that, but, but there was some historical value in it too, so the thought was, one of my thoughts was to kind of keep some of them.
Are all the brick removed now? They're all out of there?
They're all gone.
Okay, maybe we should get an extra 20 or 30 and have them haul over to Public Works.
First, great idea because we have 2 dozen sitting in public works, right?
Okay,
That's it.
Exactly 24.
great minds.
And that we did that for some of you on the board who might want brick like that.
Okay, so, again, this is, we figured it to be around a $10,000 add to this. It's under the spending limit for Mr. Hedges. So if the consensus of the board is to move forward with this, it doesn't need to come back before the board.
I think it's a great.
Okay,
Historical value.
so thank you.
Okay.
Who would have thought you would have gotten phone calls at night about bricks? Because I never thought I would either.
Well, I was pretty sure because I was sitting here with Jesse Polistrini for about an hour when we walked out here. In fact, I must have just escaped just in time to,
I told you as fast as I could when I got to the car.
and I didn't have a phone with you.
Okay.
Phone was at home.
Any other, one other, should we talk about the lights or no?
Sure.
Okay, so, the lights were 200 and some odd $1,000.
280,000.
How much again?
280,000 for catenary lights.
So, there's a company in town that we are working with that is agreed to help us out. They provided lights to weekdays, and he's gonna help us kind of engineer along with our engineers a way to come up with lights for downtown at a much more manageable price. Jay and I were talking today, we're figuring something maybe the high end, $25,000. Okay,
For lights?
maybe at the high end, but we're figuring it's gonna be probably half, but I'm telling everybody that, so that when it comes back, half, everybody's all excited. that it's less than that.
Down from 285,000.
Yeah, what do you
I think
look
that's
like?
pretty good.
Solar lanterns up?
No, so what we're looking at is, so when I was down in City Elgin last weekend, they have lights strung in between buildings downtown that are like the ones at Coon Creek that are just the wire lights with the bulbs hanging. Okay, our buildings, one, aren't tall enough, two, we don't really want to put them on the buildings like Elgin because there's a lot of liability stuff, like drilling into people's buildings and that kind of stuff, and I don't want to do that. So, we're-
Printed it,
Rock.
Oh, okay.
so we're looking to design something along with one of our local vendors to do this. It's coming around. I'm thinking it's gonna be less than $20,000, but I always shoot high with the prices because you never know what's gonna cost. I've already talked with Mr. Hedges. We feel that we can install them ourselves along with some planning, right? And so we're just gonna try to design them in a way that they hook onto the lights and then go in a zigzag. So this, at the end of the day, we will have the lights that were in the design, not the exact lights and not the expensive lights, but these are the same lights that are down in Disney World and that kind of stuff. So for way less. And they'd be LED. And so, but it's early enough in the process that we can adjust things on the light poles if we need to.
There's one big caveat, and that is that we need to understand the load limits of poles and what
I
they
was just gonna ask that.
So we now have a specification that Mike was able to get from the vendor on the lights, 333 lights per string, and with his Christmas lights. And then there's aviation cable, referred to steel aviation cable will be holding it. So we need, those, we're using regular light poles, just the 6 that would be in the festival plot. Not the 10 special light poles that would have just held the canopy system. That's why it was $280,000. It had its own 10 light poles. So this idea is whether it'll be a very simple engineering calculation. How much do they weigh and can those poles handle it? So we'll know that probably by the end of next week.
On this streetscape, are they redoing any of the electric in the street poles?
All of them. Yeah, it's a mess.
Thank you.
It's a mess. All the way back to the transformer.
So I felt that the lights were pretty important to a lot of the residents and stuff. And so when they do this big fancy streetscape and the lights aren't a part of it, they're gonna go, that's the only thing that they're gonna see. Let's be real. We know how our community is. And so, yeah, right. Yeah, show them the bricks now. But I think that this with the bricks, and I think it's gonna have a few more personal touches. I think that it'll be good. So thanks to the staff again for amusing me as I don't let some of the small things go.
And that'll be a couple of weeks before we know. The only other thing I'd add to that is, just Yvonne had mentioned that the Lions Club would like to make a donation sometime. You might want to mention that. And so there could be a sponsor for the brick pavers that we just talked about. We also had a bench program. Some of you might remember. Champion Paving a while back offered to donate a bench, and I had no clue what they were talking about. So we've now since come back, found the vendor that sold us the benches, and so if we want to, once this is all done, we'll have a better feel for what's missing on State Street. But if the Lions Club, for example, wanted to sponsor something, or if anybody else wants to sponsor something.
Somebody does. The person that contacted me this week about the bench on State Street.
So I'm gonna find that, get that vendor, kind of get a program work together. We probably won't launch it until after we finish Streetscape, but toward the end of the summer.
Talk to the park district because I do a lot of those in the parks.
Oh, great.
People buy them
There are
and then
some around town. I think Dave must have picked them up, and there were a couple of them in the library.
The big heavy steel ones.
Yeah, and they came out of Maryland.
Those in the big trash cans. Remember the trash cans?
they're double dip cast iron.
Yeah.
They have like a 75-year warranty.
At our meeting at the Hampshire Lions Club last Monday, I was asked to present it to the board that they would like to donate something to the Hampshire Streetscape project, and whether it's a bench or something else, they're willing to something here that would enhance, if you like, or whatever. But they don't know what you want to put out there, but they're open to negotiating something.
Well, you've got two ideas tonight that we have no idea that weren't a part of this, right? So we have lights that we were looking to figure out a way to pay for, and then we have the bricks now. that, again, we're gonna put the bricks down, but to trustee Coe's point, whether we water engrave them, put some kind of medallion down, commemorate a plaque or something of that nature, you know. Just some ideas.
What we can do is I can put together, if you might tell me what you think the dollar amounts would be, we can put together a donation, of, let's say $1,000. I wouldn't want to go much lower than that. Those benches cost about, close to $1,500 after they're engraved. So we probably want to start around $1,000 and maybe have $1,000 donation or $5,000 and maybe even up to 10 if somebody wants to sponsor lights or something like that. So if you all think there are groups out there, then I can put something together for your consideration.
It's a good idea. I know that you can do that in your spare time.
Yeah, but in the meantime, if you know people that would like to donate, either have them contact me or just let me know who they are. And we'll try and see if we can collect some money.
Okay, other announcements?
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Enjoy your day on Sunday. And our principal at Hampshire Elementary has moving on to bigger and better things. She's taking the district office. I know the kids all love her there. I will butcher her name. I'm just gonna say EW. She will be greatly missed in the community. She is a wonderful principal. Those kids are K through 5 are the happiest kids you will ever see. And it is in large part due to the way she runs that school.
She's phenomenal.
She has-
Hampshire High School while she was there.
She is leaving big shoes to fill. So we wish her the best of luck. She's staying in the district.
Any other announcements?
Yes, May 26th, the Hampshire Township Historical Society will be doing another presentation at 7 PM at the Township Building. And it is going to be on the history of the war and how it affected the town.
Okay. I also would like to say happy anniversary to all of you. You know, it has been a year since we've been here as, me as mayor and you guys as trustees. So we haven't burned the village down and we haven't been run out of office yet. So, but we did destroy the hell out of downtown.
We destroyed it.
So I guess we're good. Anyway, so if there's no other announcements, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Trustee Coe.
Huh?
Driver.
Ricky Bobby.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Roll call vote, please. I thought maybe somebody was actually.
Wonder Bread?
Ricky Bobby. Maybe it was a throwback.
Hi.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Paulson,
Mike got it.
Mr.
He
Robinson,
was,
Mr. Cole,
aye.
motion
He was
passed.
not telling Dave.
Five.